They built a monument to honor her, but then they forgot to leave the door open. That is exactly how this league is treating its miracle. Caitlin Clark didn't just show up, she exploded onto the scene. She brought with her record-breaking numbers from college and the highest jersey sales ever seen before a player had even played a single professional game. Since joining the WNBA, her games are pulling in an average of over 850,000 viewers. That number is more than double what the league's primetime games used to get. Sponsors are now flooding in, seats are selling out, and her highlight videos are all over every sports show, from ESPN to TikTok. She is the main story. She is the engine driving the train. She is the reason that casual fans finally started paying attention. And yet, somehow, she is the one they keep putting on the sidelines. Not by taking her out of the game, but by silencing her and making her invisible where it truly matters the most. This season, ESPN has said her name twice as much as the current MVP. But when elbows are thrown or bodies hit the floor hard, the referee's whistles stay quiet. She might get 8 free throws in one game, then only 3 in the next. Every hard foul against her is explained away as just tough basketball. Every hit is excused with the line, "She's got to earn it." It's funny how the standards always seem to change, especially when it's her name on the posters outside the arena. This isn't about giving her special treatment, it's about basic fairness. And for some reason, fairness seems to avoid her wherever she goes. They want to use her magic, but they don't want her to build up too much power. They want the viewers she brings, but they don't want to listen to her voice. Her team is winning, and her stats are great, but the system all around her feels strangely cold and unsupportive. Coaches keep saying that she needs to adjust, but adjust to what, exactly? Adjust to the lack of protection from refs, to the absence of foul calls, to the unspoken rule that being too successful too quickly means you are due to be slowed down. They describe it as a rookie learning the ropes. But you don't buy a Formula One car and then ask it to drive like a minivan. You don't bring in an engine from Iowa and then tell it to run on low power. And yet, that is exactly what seems to be happening here. It's like they planted a flag on the moon and then just told gravity to take care of the rest. The situation has become a trap with no way out. If she reacts to the hard fouls, she's called emotional. If she stays quiet and takes the hits, she's seen as weak. If her team wins, people say it's only because of all the hype around her. If her team loses, it's used as proof that she wasn't ready. Every single path she takes leads to some kind of criticism, because the system was never built for someone like her to rise so high, so fast. She is being forced to play a game within the game, one where the score isn't public and the referees aren't just wearing stripes, they're wearing league policies and carrying decades of quiet resentment. And while the league smiles for the cameras and sells her shirts, there is a darker meeting happening behind the scenes. It's a conversation that no one ever records, but one that everyone can feel. The unspoken order is to protect the league, but contain the storm that is Caitlin Clark. So the next time you hear someone say she's getting too much hype, you should ask who is doing the hyping, and more importantly, who is doing the quieting. Because when someone gives you this much, this fast, and you still find ways to hold them back, maybe the problem isn't the player's rise. Maybe the problem is how threatened you are by it. So, was this just carelessness, or was it a carefully hidden plan to hold her back? The league cashed the checks that she brought in, but they put their own name on the envelope. Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA and made every camera turn her way. She did it without tricks or PR stunts, but with pure performance and her powerful presence. ESPN saw a jump in viewership that they hadn't seen in years, with an 18% increase in ad money coming directly from the games she played in. Ticket prices for the Indiana Fever shot up. Websites like StubHub showed prices for resold tickets jumping by 300% when Clark was on the court. And yet, when the league's schedule first came out, her team had 0 national TV games in the first few weeks. Not a single one. The biggest name in basketball was treated like a background character on her own stage. Her jersey became the number one seller in the league, outselling MVPs and champions. She is a rookie in name only, not in value. The merchandise is selling like crazy, and her video clips are shared millions of times, but the credit for this success gets sent elsewhere. Every gain is described as being part of the collective momentum of the whole league. That's funny, because the league wasn't growing like this before she arrived. She is the main power line, but they keep handing the flashlight to someone else. Every sold-out crowd is promoted as a win for the league's growth. But that growth has a name, and they seem afraid to say it too often. Because if they admitted where the power really comes from, they would have to explain why she isn't treated like the star she is. This isn't just about money, it's about denial. Clark is the financial engine of the league, but the official story still revolves around developing talent and team dynamics. Every statistic that is put into league reports hides the real headline. She brings in the numbers. She moves the needle, but she doesn't get the power that should come with that. They put their brand on her success, but blur out the source. That's not an accident. That's a strategy. It's a strategy built to make money off of a phenomenon while keeping that phenomenon on a leash. And here's the worst part. The people who are profiting the most are the same ones who are setting her limits. They want her as a symbol, not as a partner. They want her to be the spark, but they don't want her to control the fire. Let her lift up the league, just don't give her the keys to the elevator. That's why the national TV schedule didn't follow the numbers. That's why her endorsement deals got huge, but the league's story tries to shrink her credit. There is always a new face being promoted, as long as it's not the one who is already rewriting all the record books. So, don't ask how she is doing. Ask how they are surviving off of what she has built. Because the question isn't who made all the money. The question is who took it without ever saying thank you. She has to deal with double coverage on the court and from the league's politics. What Caitlin Clark is up against isn't just physical. It's built into the system. It's hidden in the rules. While the world watches her score points and fill arenas, something quieter is happening behind the scenes. Small changes in the lineup, odd silences from leadership, and coaching decisions that feel more like they are meant to hold her back than to help her win. She leads the team in minutes played, until suddenly she doesn't. As the fourth quarter clock winds down, she is suddenly on the bench, even when the team has the lead and is playing well. They say it's about giving players a rest. But somehow, the league's most valuable player keeps getting taken out of the game right before the end. And then come the public comments from the team, little jabs disguised as professional coaching. She needs to learn. She's still adjusting. She's not ready yet. The irony is that she has already done what very few players ever have. She dominated in college, commanded huge TV ratings, and has delivered under pressure time and time again. And yet, when the game is on the line, the ball seems to skip past her. The most important shots are given to others. Veterans with worse stats get the chance to be the hero, all while Clark watches from the side. It's not about developing her as a player. It's about deflecting the attention. The message is clear. You can be the storm. Just don't outshine the clouds that were here before you. They asked her to lead an orchestra, but kept changing the tuning of her piano in the middle of the performance. You can see it in her body language. In the way she adjusts her wristband, but doesn't get to touch the ball. You can see it in the way the TV broadcast quickly looks away when she is taken out of the game early, as if even the camera operators know something isn't right. She isn't just fighting against defenders. She's fighting against a hierarchy, a pecking order. It's a system where being a veteran seems to matter more than being a spark, where experience is valued more than results. A place where invisible lines are drawn between what she has earned and what she is allowed to have. No one wants to say it out loud because saying it makes it real. Saying it opens up all the closed-door meetings and silent memos, the kind that remind a team who built it, but also who is still in control. When a rookie brings in the crowds and changes the culture, she becomes both a valuable asset and a threat. And the easiest way to quiet a threat isn't to criticize it, it's to control it. You take the spotlight off her without turning off all the lights. So the final plays go to someone else. The public comments stay vague. The patterns repeat. And we are all told it's just part of the plan. But if it looks like politics and it sounds like politics, maybe it's not basketball anymore. Maybe it's a warning disguised as a strategy. So ask yourself, is this about helping a rookie grow, or is it about sabotaging a veteran's replacement in slow motion? Every system has a weak point, and this one is starting to tick like a bomb. What starts as silence turns into angry noise. What looks like a mistake becomes a deep crack in the foundation. Right now, the WNBA is balancing its future on the fragile idea that things are under control. But the numbers don't lie, and neither do the fans. The Indiana Fever is barely holding on to its playoff hopes. If they don't make it, the result won't just be disappointment. It will be a financial disaster. Experts are predicting up to a 23% drop in next season's income if the team misses the postseason. And that's not because the team isn't talented. It's because the face of the team, the one person drawing historic crowds, is being held back by the very system she saved. National TV networks are now rushing to change their schedules to add more Fever games, but it's too little, too late. The first impression was already made. The league's brightest star was treated like a sideshow. And now the internet is noticing. The hashtag Free Clark is no longer a small joke. It's a growing movement. Fans are connecting the dots. They are wondering why the one player driving record-breaking interest isn't being promoted, protected, or made a priority. They are wondering if this is about basketball or if it's about control. What happens next is not a question of talent. It's a question of tension, and tension always finds a way to break. If the Fever falls apart, the blame won't be on their performance. It will be on the idea that the league didn't know how to handle its own success, that it dropped the most valuable player to hit women's basketball in a generation. This isn't just about Clark. It's about the message it sends to every young athlete who is watching. If you perform too well, too fast, the system might not lift you up. It might try to push you down. Changing the schedule won't stop the story from changing. New marketing ideas won't undo months of awkward silence and missed chances, because what people think doesn't wait for permission. It builds in real time. And right now, the feeling is that the WNBA had gold in its hands and chose rules over brilliance. They're not just risking a playoff spot. They're risking the loyalty of fans, of brands, and of the next generation of stars who are deciding where they want to play and who they want to trust. You can ignore the alarm clock, but eventually the fire will reach the bedroom. And by then, it's not about waking up, it's about surviving the fire. This isn't just bad management. It's like pouring gasoline on an already dry system. There is a silence that athletes carry that is louder than any press conference. It's not in the words they say, but in the moments they choose not to say anything. Lately, Caitlin Clark has been saying less. She has been skipping some post-game interviews, avoiding microphones, and offering just enough to follow the rules before disappearing. And when someone that famous starts to fade from view, it's not an accident, it's a choice. Because sometimes, the most powerful message is the one that isn't spoken, because no one has earned the right to hear it. You can see the change in her body language, in the way she walks off the court without looking at the bench, In the video clip that went viral when she was pulled from the game in the middle of a good run and just stared into space. Not angry, not confused, just done. That's not a rookie being tired. That's a soul questioning its investment. And she's not the only one doing the math. Fans are starting to split into two groups. One group still trusts the system and believes in the long-term plan, the rotations, and the process. The other group is waking up, seeing the pattern, and seeing how the same system that makes money from her brilliance keeps finding new ways to dim her light. This isn't just a basketball problem, it's a belief problem, because the one thing no league can afford to lose is the idea that its stars are fully committed. And right now, Clark looks like she's counting the cost, the emotional cost of giving everything and getting politics in return. The cost of lifting up a brand but feeling alone at the top, of being treated like an asset without being protected like one. They built her a stage, forgot the runway, and then blamed her for not being able to fly. And the league can feel it. Even if they won't say it, the nervous changes to their marketing. The sudden PR fixes mid-season. The spotlight games after months of being ignored. It's not leadership, it's damage control. Because nothing scares a system more than a rising star who has stopped smiling. Not because of a big ego, but because of a slow erosion of trust, of hope, of the simple belief that hard work should be rewarded. And the scariest part is, she hasn't said a word about it because she doesn't have to. Silence is louder when it comes from someone who has given the sport everything: attention, momentum, money, and hope. When that kind of player starts going quiet, the league should listen very, very closely. Because the question is no longer, can she handle the league? It's, can the league handle her patience running out? The system has a certain type of player it prefers and a habit of how it treats them. And if you've watched this league long enough, you've seen this happen before. A breakout star arrives. The excitement builds. The numbers go up, the cameras follow. The headlines get huge. But then, something changes, quietly and strategically. It always happens right after the spotlight gets too bright for the league's comfort. In 2014, Brittany Griner was everywhere, a generational talent who was changing the game on defense. But when her fame grew faster than the league's own story, the criticism started to grow. Her minutes on the court went down, and the support for her seemed to depend on her behavior. In 2018, Skylar Diggins-Smith led the league in minutes played, carried her team, and played better than many veterans. But she still had to fight just to be recognized. Her injuries were used as excuses, and media coverage of her shrank. She spoke up, and the system pushed back against her. This isn't a secret plan. It's a consistent pattern, always disguised as something professional. When a woman becomes too important to the league's identity, they don't celebrate her. They either absorb her into their brand or they push her to the side. The methods change, but the message is always the same. You can lead, but not too much. You can shine, but only if the league is the one controlling the spotlight. When that control slips out of their hands, they don't build bigger stages. They just dim the lights in the room. If you look at the history of TV broadcasting, you'll see that ESPN has more than once buried its most-watched players under stories about team balance. They highlight the group, spread out the airtime, and water down the impact of one star, all to create a sense of balance. But balance is a word that systems use when they don't want to admit where the real power is. They don't want a face for the league. They want a brand that they can change whenever they want, and faces can talk back. Every empire has its ghosts, and every spotlight has a shadow written in the rules. What Caitlin Clark is going through now doesn't feel new. It feels like something she inherited. It's like a script that has been passed down through the years. A rookie rides the wave of popularity, boosts the ratings, and becomes the cultural engine. And the response isn't celebration, it's adjustment. It's pulling her back just enough. to remind everyone who is still in charge. The words they use sound supportive, but their decisions say the opposite. And here's the worst part. The pattern always comes with compliments. We value her. We're protecting her. But underneath, it's all just friction, a resistance to the idea that one person can become bigger than the institution itself. The playbook is so old that it doesn't even try to hide anymore. So maybe this isn't a case of mishandling a star. Maybe it's just tradition. Maybe the real fear isn't her fame. It's that she doesn't need them anymore, because that is the unspoken panic that is echoing through boardrooms and broadcast meetings right now. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rising star. She is a self-powering machine, a global brand that can exist with or without the league's permission. The WNBA may have drafted her, but they don't own her influence. And here is the problem they are running into. She knows it. There is a clause hidden deep in her contract about flexibility in her second year. A player can choose to leave for a season to play overseas, and you can be sure that the offers are already sitting on the table. Double the salary, full creative control, and zero politics. International leagues would do anything to get the kind of audience she brings. They don't see her as a rookie, they see her as a revolution. Meanwhile, here at home, she is being told to wait her turn. But the real crack in the system isn't just about money. It's about marketing. Because when big brands like Nike and Gatorade start to change their advertising to be about the athlete instead of the league, the illusion of control shatters. The WNBA isn't the platform anymore. She is. And platforms that powerful don't ask for favors. They demand their own terms. This was never just about developing a player. It was about dominance, about control over the pace, the image, and the tone. They made her the face of their empire and then panicked when she stopped smiling. Because a face with options becomes a threat. A player who doesn't need the system can question it, can challenge it, and can walk away from it, taking the entire audience with her. That is the nuclear option. And everyone inside the machine knows it's there. They know a shift is coming. A generation of players that won't wait politely to be noticed, that won't beg for a spot in the rotation, that will build their own empires outside of the scoreboard. And Clark is the first test case. It's not a test of her talent, that's obvious. It's a test of the league's tolerance. How much freedom can a system handle before it breaks? So now the league is walking on eggshells. They promote her just enough to sell jerseys, but not enough to lose control. They give her minutes, but not too many. They hype her image without handing her the keys to the kingdom. But every move they make reveals the same thing: fear. Not fear of her failure, but fear of her freedom. So who really has the power here? The league or the woman there, too scared to fully promote? She walked in as a player. She might walk out as a new standard. Because what started as a rookie season is now becoming a vote on leadership, on control, and on whether the WNBA can handle the very future it claims to want. And make no mistake, if Caitlin Clark leaves, it won't just be a player changing teams. It will be a shift in the entire center of gravity for the sport. The numbers prove it. The Clark effect isn't just a hashtag. It's a real phenomenon. College players are already making their decisions based on her experience. Recruits are watching how she is treated, not just how she plays. Because for the first time, young athletes are asking a new kind of question. Not, where will I be drafted? But will I be respected when I get there? And it's not just the players. It's the fans, the core audience. The people who don't show up for team logos. They show up for her. You can see it in online forums across Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube. Viewers are saying they're done watching, not because she loses, but because she is being held back while she is winning. Because they see the double standards, the unfair treatment, and the silence. And they are not loyal to leagues anymore. They are loyal to people and to impact. Caitlin Clark has become more than just a player. She has become a signal, a test, and a warning. Brands see it too. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, they don't support silence. They support momentum, and momentum follows the numbers. Right now, marketing budgets for 2026 are being planned. Fan engagement is being tracked. And if the WNBA loses its most valuable story because of pride, fear, or politics, those big money budgets won't wait around for apologies. They will be redirected because where she goes, the money follows. That's the part that no one in power seems to understand. In a world of scattered attention, it's not about where you play. It's about who people show up for. One player walking out can start a movement. One player leaving can change what loyalty means. If she leaves, others won't hesitate to follow players, viewers, and advertisers. The system has always depended on the idea that it was the final destination, that no one would dare to walk away. That idea is now cracking. If the brightest light in the room turns and leaves, what happens to the room? What happens to the crowd, to the camera crews, to the sponsors on the court? They will follow the light because that's how visibility works. That's how influence works. And this time, the power doesn't belong to the institution. It's personal. It wears number 22, and it doesn't have time to wait for a committee to approve its next move. So the next time a system meets its miracle, will it try to support it? Or will it try to contain it again? If you've ever seen a system kill its own miracle, you know this isn't just a mistake. It's a blueprint for failure.